Alright everybody, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to do a video on cultivating a present moment practice, and this is a really simple, in a sense, practice, and also one of the most powerful and potent spiritual tools that I think is available to anyone. I'm going to relate it in this video specifically to how this can help you if you're going through a Kundalini awakening, but really this applies to any situation, any physical pain and suffering you might be going through, or emotional and mental suffering that you are creating in the mind. So yeah, for me, during my Kundalini awakening, and if your awakening experience is anything like mine was, you're going to have to go through potentially extreme physical pain and for potentially a long period of time. Like for me, it was many years of going through extreme, constant physical pain. And one of the issues with that is you add a lot of additional suffering that isn't necessary. So what I mean by that is, even though you're going to have to go through this and it's potentially unavoidable, the level of suffering you go through is dependent on your own relationship to that pain, if you know what I'm saying. I'll explain this a little bit more. So one of the things I was doing in my situation of being bedbound in all this pain, I was creating lots of additional suffering for myself by projecting back into the past and also out into the future, my situation. So for example, I'd be thinking to myself like, oh, I've been in this situation for so long, this is terrible. And I'd be projecting at the future of like, how long is this going to go on for? I can't manage any longer, I just can't do it. And the thing that present moment practice does is it's pulling you into the moment and being with the moment, which essentially dissolves those stories, because in the present moment, whatever pain you're experiencing, you can deal with because you are dealing with it. And that is very empowering. The more you pull into that moment, it's like, okay, I'm here, I'm with this pain, feel it, I can feel it, okay, this is painful, but I can deal with it and I'm with it. And so it's so helpful and beneficial. And so many layers of fear and suffering and anxiety just dissolve when you do that. And so it's incredibly powerful and incredibly helpful for dealing with physical pain. Two books that I highly recommend, and these are really well-known books. It's not, these are popular books, but they came to me at exactly the right point in my journey. Or, well, maybe they could have come a touch sooner, but they came soon enough. And that is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and also the follow-up to that, A New Earth. And I had these two on audiobook, and I just listened to, when they came through, it was like, I needed it so much. And I just listened to those two books on repeat on audiobook while I was, like I say, in bed bound in this physical pain. I don't know, like at least 20 times. I just kept listening and listening again and again, and just soaking in this knowledge. And also understanding how, in my past, I'd created all sorts of additional suffering by not really being present. And so, yeah, the other way this is really helpful is in terms of pulling you into that state of awareness that is beyond thought, and realizing that you are not your thoughts, you are that still presence of awareness behind them, and you observe your thoughts as you're not identifying with those thoughts, you're identifying with that eternal space that is the presence behind them. And so this is, again, like very useful in detaching from mental stories that we tell ourselves and any resistance we have to what is, like to the isness of the situation. So there's a quote by Ram Dass that I really love, and he said, the resistance to the unpleasant situation is the root of all suffering. And I think that's like so true, like, and emphasize the all, like all suffering basically is a resistance to what is in the moment. That doesn't mean, like, you've got to get a I'm distinguishing between suffering and pain here, as I've sort of fleshed out a little bit earlier in this video, but you can be going through pain and not suffering in a certain way. Like, there is physical pain that is there. There is emotional releases, things like that. But if you can create that separation between the pain or the emotion or anything like that, if you can be observing it, then there is a much less degree of suffering. Another way this has been really helpful for me on my journey, in a little bit later on in my journey when I was up kind of doing activities and things like that, is because I'd cultivated a real sense of being in the moment. It brings you into the body, and so I started to realize, so an example of like, say like preparing food, I started to realize, because I was really present doing it in the moment, just being with that process, I started to realize I was holding like additional tension in my body. So I'd be like cutting carrots and like really, it's like, and my conscious mind was like, you don't need to do it you don't need to put all that thing in, just be with it and just relax. So it's incredibly helpful in that way as well. And it can take a while to get into this state of being in the moment, and catching your thoughts when you're wandering off. But the more you practice this, the more it will just be a state of being that you're actually in. And it's a practice that I've been doing for many, many years now, at least 8 years since I came across those books. And I also view it as a powerful meditation, because another thing from Ram Dass that I learned is this idea of like meditation in action. So basically, you're turning your life into a meditation. All action is meditation. You're present and aware of all the processes, and you're with it. And this is a very Zen-like state you can get into. Now, don't get me wrong, there can be things that come along in your life, even when you've been... So, like, I've been practicing this for a long, long time, as I just said, but still if some traumatic event happens in your life, then it can pull you back into the mind. I've been through a real dark night of the soul, for external reasons that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but over the last 3 or 4 months. And so prior to that, I felt very present, not identifying my thoughts, but this whole process that I've been through has really pulled me back into those thoughts, and then I get caught up in being annoyed at myself for being pulled back into these thoughts. So yeah, even when you've been practicing this a long time, things can come along that pull you back in. But when you've got that awareness, after the sort of trauma has bounced around and reverberated in your life in whatever way it needs to, you can pull yourself back into this state. So yeah, that's just a quick video on it. I recommend the books by Eckhart Tolle, as I've mentioned. Be Here Now by Ram Dass is another good book on this kind of thing. And I'll leave you with a quote by Eckhart Tolle just to sort of round up this video. And that is, realize that the present moment is all that you have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. And yeah, it's just so beneficial and so helpful on this spiritual path, or just anybody's life journey. So yeah. Okay, I hope that was helpful for some people, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.